Hey everyone, there's a lot of things in role-playing games that people don't like to keep track of, that take time and effort to tick off boxes and keep track of them. Things like encumbrance, things like time sometimes, and of course, tracking ammunition for your shooter in a game like Savage Worlds. Now, I want to talk a little bit about tracking ammo and how we can maybe get rid of the tedium of tracking ammo without getting rid of the excitement that comes with, oh, I have to reload right now. Do I spend an action? Do I not? What am I going to do?
Savage World, one of the best games today.
Hey everyone, it's Carl with Tabletop Tango. Look at the bubbles, do the stuff. We'd love your support. We'd love likes, subscribes. We'd really like subscriptions because those are fun to watch the numbers go up, and that's always cool. So what do I want to talk about today? So today is actually very selfish. I'm trying to do less tracking of ammunition and things like that for characters that I create, because I like to create shooter characters, which everybody probably knows by now. And it gets tiring keeping track of ammunition, ticking the boxes off, especially since I use high rate of fire weapons. You know, when you use a weapon with a rate of fire 3, you got to use 10 bullets, and so you got to track off 10, and then I'd like to not have to do that, but I don't want to lose the fun and excitement of at just an inopportune moment. Suddenly you're out of ammunition, and you've got to reload, and you got to take that action, or you have to decide, do I take cover that action? Do I actually try to do a multi-action? So there's some excitement there. So I don't want to just get rid of it altogether. So selfishly, that's what I want. And so I thought about if there's some ways, some techniques that maybe will give me a way of having both. Now, they're never going to be as accurate as actually taking track of bullets, and some of them are more, feel like kind of the way you see gunfire in a movie, which is maybe not a bad thing, you know, where people are firing a lot of shells and they probably should have reloaded, but maybe they didn't because, well, in our case, the die roll didn't make us do it. So it could be kind of fun. So in the comments, if you've got a way of handling ammunition tracking or not tracking, and it works good for your game, I'd love to hear it, because again, selfishly, I want to figure out how to do this well. And so here's some ideas that I think might work. One of them comes from a setting. Stick around for that one, and that setting is available now, called the Secret Files of Section D, and I'll talk about what they do as far as getting rid of ammo tracking. So let's talk about it. So first, for high rate of fire weapons. That one I feel like might be a little easier because honestly, a rate of fire 3 weapon takes 10 shells. If you look in the Suede core book, most of the automatic weapons have about enough to fire 3 times. So maybe we just say if you're using your weapon fully automatic, you get 3 shots and then you have to reload. Do we have to track every bullet? No, maybe we just say 3 shots and have to reload. But you say, what happens if somebody does single fire? Well, that's where we would use these other techniques that I'm going to talk about. So if you're a high rate of fire shooter, you got a weapon that's got a rate of fire 3, and you fire off 2 blasts, and now you start firing at single shot. Maybe you use these other techniques, and you might be able to go a long way single shooting, and then at the last minute, yeah, you still get your 3rd spray. Why not? Come on. But all through that, you know that you only get 3 fully auto sections to be able to do it. So that's what I think I would use for high rate of fire weapons, things with the rate of fire 3 or 4. Because I think that makes sense. Just, we can fire 3, and then our magazine is empty. We got to reload. If we decide we're not going to do all 3, and we do some single fire, rate of fire 1 actions, then we would use this other technique. And you could combine the two so that, kind of in that Hollywood movie style, I'm doing single shots, and at some point I decide again to do that final barrage of bullets. Yeah, a lot of them have it. Even though they've already fired 2 fully auto, and they have the last fully auto, well, they did rate of fire 1 in between. That makes sense? So I keep talking about the rate of fire 1 ideas. So here's the first one. So the first technique or idea is anytime, so we don't track the ammo. So anytime you roll a 1 on your shooting die and it's a miss. So you rolled a 1 on your shooting die, but let's say you rolled a 4 on your wild die, that's not a miss. So you don't have to reload. But if you roll a 1 on your shooting die and it's a miss overall, then we'd say, hey, you have to reload. Now, the important thing is the shot still goes off. So we're not going to have anybody, I don't think it makes sense to have people have to pull the trigger and go click, click, click and go, oh my God, I'm out of shells at an inopportune moment. I think it's more more nice to the player to just say, okay, you've run out of ammo after this one shot. Now you have to take the action to reload, put a new magazine in, what have you. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking about weapons, I didn't say it, but I'm talking about weapons that have like magazines that can be reloaded relatively quickly. So if you're talking about a muzzle loader, that's already a single shot weapon. You already have a reload time for that single shot. I mean, we're not talking about that, right? I think we figured that out. So that's the first technique. Roll a 1 and you missed, you got to reload. Technique 2 that I thought about, which is kind of a play on seeing if we can pull more cards from the action deck, because the more cards you pull, the more likely you're going to get a joker, so that'd be kind of fun. So the second technique I was thinking of is on a 1 on a shooting die, you draw a card. And if that card is 5 or less, your typical low draw in the action deck, a 5 or less, you reload. Now, if you're in a certain section, you want to make it a little more often that you have to draw that card, maybe it's a 1 or 2 on the shooting die, especially with people who've got shooting die of D10 or D12 already, because they're really invested in that skill. So you roll a 1, you draw a card. If it's a 5 or lower, then you have to reload. But what's the action of, and I say draw them from the action deck. So as you draw them from action deck, now you got that joker that's ever present for the next round of combat. I think that's kind of metagaming, kind of meta thinking, but it would be kind of cool, right? Because jokers are a lot of fun. Now, if you draw a joker as your card, maybe you don't have to reload, and maybe you just get a +2 on your next round of combat, regardless of where you go in the order. And then, of course, put the joker back, reshuffle the deck. Have I used this one? No, I've kind of used something similar to Technique 1, in a sense, more with critical failure. But Technique 2, I think, would be kind of fun in the sense that you're drawing the card from the action deck, and you can, again, eat more cards, and so more likely a joker's going to come up in the combat, which makes combat kind of like, oh my god, our party got a joker. Oh no, the bad guy's got a joker, and the DM's got an extra Benny. So I think that's kind of cool. So the final one, and this is a short video, but the final one is from a product called The Secret Files of Section D. And this is a setting that's really geared, it's like 1940s, the World War II kind of flavor to it. Your secret agents, as all settings, the world's not as it seems. There's, secret societies at work. There's mysterious magic and stuff like that. So it's a really cool, interesting setting. I think it's something that's worth checking out, because they've actually got a few interesting setting rules that I think you could use for your game. And one of them is called Hollywood Guns. And it says, characters using firearms are assumed to reload their weapons as needed as a non-declared free action when in combat, but sometimes they lose track of how many rounds they have fired. And so it says you don't even have to worry about reloading. This is just some dramatic theme thing where you've forgotten, and now you have to reload. Again, they call it the Hollywood Guns. And so this says wild cards run out of ammo when their shooting die is a 1, and the wild die results in a complete miss, a roll of 1 to 3. So you'd have to have a 1 on your shooting die and a low number, you got about a 50% chance then on your wild die to have this happen. So there's a little less chance of it happening compared to some of my techniques. So just kind of weigh where you want to be in that range of things. And then it says rolls of 4+ that are less than the target number due to cover and range modifiers are deemed to have hit the target's cover or narrowly missed. It says the shot is still fired, and then you're just deemed out of ammunition. And then it talks about extras, and that's kind of their technique. Kind of cool. I like that idea that you got that Hollywood style. When we talk about the pulpy games that Savage Worlds is so good at, running around and not worrying about ammunition and chicken boxes, and being able to just roll a die and have the die itself come up with the random action, say, hey, yes, now you need to reload. Because I was, as a kind of an aside before I finish up the video, I was trying to think about these techniques myself. And one of the things I thought was, well, maybe we can have a D6 counter, and every time you miss, you move the counter up 1. And so if you miss with that number or less, then maybe. And I just realized that, oh my God, I'm tracking ammo again. I'm just doing it differently. I'm doing it with a die that well, why don't I just take a D20 and set it down and then roll from 20 down to 1 when I shoot, right? I mean, so I overthought it. And so to get rid of tracking ammo, yet still make it so I have to worry about reloading, that's where I came up with these ideas. Some of them may make you reload more often. It may possibility from a pure randomization standpoint, like if you got a shooting of a D8, that's 1 in 8 times that you may have to reload if you're using just a technique where any shoot and miss requires a reload. You may reload less because with your bonuses and support from others, you may be hitting on your wild die, and so you wouldn't have to roll then. It may happen more or less often. You look at like some of the handguns that have 17-shot magazines. That's a lot of shots. And is the odds of Technique 1 or Technique 2 with the drawing the cards, are they better or worse? I don't know. But you know what? I don't have to track things on a sheet of paper anymore. I can just roll the die, and the die tell me right away what happens. If I need to draw a card, well, then I'm drawing that card immediately, goes real quick, slap it down, and we just keep moving forward, and I don't have to track it. So just some ideas, a couple of techniques, and one that comes from a third-party publisher who's probably put a lot more thought into it than I probably have. And again, in the comments, I'd love if you've got a technique you use so you don't track ammunition, you don't have to worry about that, yet you still keep the flavor of occasionally, in the cinematic universe, people have to reload, and sometimes that's the most inopportune moment. If you somehow figure out how to keep that flavor going, put it in the comments. I totally want to hear it. I totally want to understand it because it's something that I want to use, I want to take advantage of, and Technique 1 is the closest I've got to one that I've been using, but I want to learn more. So once again, I'm Carl with Tabletop Tango. Look at the bubbles, do the stuff. We'd love your support, subscribes. Check out the website if you want to support us. It's got all the links there, including, I only have a couple of swag things, but if you want to pick one of them up, that'd be great too. So once again, thank you, and we'll talk to you later.
World, one of the best games today. Savage World. Benny.